Well, folks, as normal, Washington is acting like Washington, and we got a little bit delayed on the floor during votes, but glad we made it here. We were delayed a little bit because of a couple of things that happened to us recently, but my name's Don Norcross. I'm the co-chair of the Labor Caucus and the only union electrician in the House of Representatives. But it's not often in a bipartisan manner that you'll have two members here today both carrying their union tickets with you. And you'll hear from Representative Pete Stauber shortly. But he and I know the power of collective bargaining, what it means to have a voice at the workplace. We've sat across in those tough negotiations, and we'll hear a little bit in a while from the presidents of two prominent internationals, what it is like. And we know negotiations. It's part of what we do day in and day out. But we also know something is having a union ticket is the way to make it in middle-class America. That union workers earn between 10 and 20% more money than their peers. That it helps companies actually boost retention for those who are jumping all over the place. So here today we're talking one of the biggest barriers to having a collective bargaining agreement, and that's the inability to make a first contract. It takes an average of 458 days to get a first contract. That's if you get a first contract. And there is a big if, because we understand fully and completely where the power lies in delay, delay, delay. Now, the idea of dragging things out is a strategic move that companies make day in and day out. And as we often hear from this administration how important it is to have your voice to vote, before you can even get to negotiations, you have to win the election and you have to get certified. And many people think, gee, we won, and you did. But you really don't win till you get that first contract. So it's not by accident that this happens. It's a form of, quite frankly, union busting. But to fix this, we have a bill. Bicameral, bipartisan way. Yes, bicameral and bipartisan, which is what you don't hear very much around here these days. It's called the Fast Labor Contracts Act. It stops the delay tactics. It speeds up the process by reaching a first contract after you get the election. So let me just briefly tell you what this means and how important it is. So you have to win the election. You have to be certified. And we know how that goes. And certainly having done that myself for many, many years as a negotiator, it's a big deal to win that election. Then, after you certify, the union will ask to start the contract negotiations. You have to ask that. And within 10 days, you have to actually start them. And then it takes time. Within 90 days, if you have not reached an agreement, you go to mediation. And we all know what that's about. Within another 30 days or 120 days from the start of this, if you don't reach a contract, you go to binding arbitration. And this is where the magic happens. If you are unable within 14 days to do that, you'll ask to start that arbitration panel who will listen to both sides as they do all the time. And here it is. They will render a decision, and that will act as your first contract for 2 years. That's the magic of what's happening here today. There's no more stop the steals. You got an election, you can get a contract. This is bipartisan, 13 Democrats, 12 Republicans here in the House, in the Senate, 2 Republicans and 5 Democrats. I just want to take a moment to thank Senators Josh Hawley and my Senator Cory Booker for their efforts in this on the Senate side. So, I am now honored to bring up the co-sponsor of this bill in these times of very difficult and political division, somebody who gets it on a level that we get it. He is from Minnesota, the great state of Minnesota. The Vikings aren't doing real well against our Eagles, but it doesn't mean we can't work together here. So please welcome the co-sponsor of the bill, Pete Stauber.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is a great day. This is a great day. I want to thank you for your leadership. We've had good conversations. We understand. I'm going to give you a little history of who Pete Stauber is. I started paying union dues with the Detroit Red Wings in 1990. I finished up in 2018 as a Duluth police officer. During that time, I wanted our supervisors to organize into a union. I knew we could get better pay, better working hours. And we did that. I remember calling my supervisors, meet me at Perkins at 40th Avenue West and Superior Street at 3:30. Well, why? Don't ask questions. I'll see you there. They all came, and I gave them that card. They all signed it. They all voted. And our representative shot down to St. Paul and called me before it closed and said, we got the paperwork in. You're starting. Now, I knew through the grapevine the city of Duluth and some of in the administration didn't support it. But I also knew it was the absolute right thing to do. I'm gone. My members, those police officers in the city of Duluth, we left them better off because of the union and our ability to collectively bargain. They're better off today because of our work. Our union members are going to be better off in the future because of this bill. You cannot wait a year and a half to negotiate. No way, no how. This starts day 10. Day 10. You vote to organize day 10. It starts. We are going to get it done. And I'm proud of my Republican labor friends and my Democrat labor friends, both in the House and the Senate. We are going to be better off. The middle class is going to be better off because of this piece of legislation. As we go forward, I'm looking forward to the success of this. No longer will you vote and have to wait a year and a half. This will become law. This is going to be an awesome piece of legislation for labor. The blue-collar men and women in labor, this is going to help. And when you vote to organize, you know you voted for a good job with good benefits, a lasting life, and good retirement. As my good friend in the labor movement worked his entire life, he's not here because it's a job. This is his passion to make it better for the working men and women in our country. I couldn't be more proud to stand here with all of you. And I know some are from Duluth because I walked the picket line. Paul, we walked the picket line together. As a Republican, walked the picket line. I wasn't going to hesitate. I've walked several of them for the union man and woman to better off them. With that being said, I've also made a lot of friends while my time in Congress. Mr. Norcross is one of them. And then Mr. O'Brien, my 92-year-old father on his annual daily call to me. I forgot to tell him I'm busy. Sean, I want to say how much we appreciate your leadership. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle we're on, as long as you support the working man and women. You have always said that. Fair contracts, reasonable contracts. The blue-collar family, this is going to help. And I want to thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to continuing that work with you. My Republican labor friends, we're in it to win it. We're in it for the middle class. We're in it for the jobs. We're in it for the long haul. So that being said, I want to introduce my friend, President of the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien. Thank you very much.
All right, the sooner you let me speak, the faster we get out of here. Listen, good afternoon. I'm Sean O'Brien, General President, International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I want to thank our two partners for their great work and their courage and conviction to work across the aisle to get probably one of the most historic labor legislations passed. Thank you very much. I appreciate both of you. I also want to recognize the great Teamsters that are here with us today at this Capitol building. We're holding important meetings right now with political coordinators fighting hard for rank-and-file Teamsters all around the country. Some of our friends in Congress may be receiving a visit from some of these fine folks with us today regarding our union's biggest priorities. I want to recognize Representative Donald Norcross of New Jersey, who has never wavered on his commitment to the Teamsters Union. Let's hear it for Rep. Norcross. And again, I want to represent my good friend, great hockey player, great hockey fan, and he loves to drink Bud Light, our Rep. Pete Stauber of Minnesota. And by the way, I help him with the Bud Light. Thank you for everything you and your teams are doing to fight for American working families and for Teamsters everywhere. We wouldn't be here without your vision and partnership, more importantly. I also want to express how grateful the Teamsters Union is for the leadership of Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri and Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. In Teamsters, we call balls and strikes, as you know. And here's the reality. The FASTA Labor Contracts Act is one of the most consequential bills put forward to help American workers in generations. When passed, the FASTA Labor Contract Act will be putting working families in this country back at the center of the American economy where we belong. It has the potential to transform entire industries for the better. As we know all too well in the Teamsters, the National Labor Relations Board has been broken for a long time. Its dysfunction to quickly process union elections and resolve labor charges has long allowed employers to delay, avoid, and even refuse to bargain fairly with hardworking Americans. Violations fueled by greed and contempt for average workers run rampant in every industry in every corner of this country. Every day we see workers democratically vote to unionize. And then we see employers delay contract negotiations for as long as possible to try and decertify the union. For big business, this is business as usual. Companies of all sizes mistreat workers and disrespect organized labor because they know they can right now. There is no accountability. There's no consequence. They get away with it every day. But we have a chance to change this, a real chance. Congress has a chance to step up and do the right thing. The opportunity exists in the FASTA Labor Contracts Act. It takes guts for workers to form a union. Workers risk retaliation and retribution from bad actors for exercising their collective bargaining rights. When workers win an election fair and square, they shouldn't have to continue fighting for years just to be treated with basic decency. At Corewell Health in Michigan last year, 10,000 nurses won one of the largest NLRB elections in decades. They're here today. The hospital's management spent almost $2 million trying to silence these nurses. But our members won. They became Teamsters. After the union election, Corewell waited more than 7 months to start bargaining. How can any of us stomach watching an employer abuse selfless, hardworking nurses in this way? It will not happen once this act is passed. Of course, we see such abuses in other industries as well. Breakthrough Beverage is a multi-billion-dollar alcohol distributor in Florida. Over 160 of its drivers voted to join the Teamsters. The company refused to meet with workers for months. When management finally decided to come to the table, Breakthrough made an effort to cut workers' pay by $30,000. Our members in Florida were forced to strike just to get the negotiating process started. In a few months, you will hear from some of these Teamsters who've been so badly mistreated by employers like Corewell Health and Breakthrough Beverage. Their experience is all too familiar to countless union workers nationwide. In America today, 63% of union campaigns do not result in a first contract after a full year following a union election. 63%. For employers, that's a shameful statistic. It's not supposed to be this way. American workers, especially Teamsters, move this country. We drive our economy across all sectors. American workers need real protections, and they need a real shot of moving into and helping rebuild our middle class. Under current labor laws, employers are meant to bargain in good faith with unionized workers. But there's no timeline for them to settle a first contract, and there is no meaningful enforcement when they refuse to do so. The Faster Labor Contracts Act can bring this corporate corruption to an end. It's simple. The Faster Labor Contracts Act ensures companies come to the bargaining table within 10 days of workers voting for a union. If there's no contract after 90 days of bargaining, negotiations move to mediation. If there's no agreement after 30 days of mediation, the employer and the workers move to binding arbitration. Those final rounds of talks before a federal arbitrator must result in a first contract. This is direct, this is fair, it's common sense, and it can be a real game changer for the American worker. The Teamsters are excited to see the Faster Labor Contracts Act already had broad bipartisan support. In addition to leadership of Rep. Norcross and Rep. Stauber, the Teamsters Union profoundly thanks Republican Senator Bernie Moreno and Democrat Senators Gary Peters and Jeff Merkley for their support and sponsorship of this critical bill. As the Faster Labor Contract Act is introduced in the House today, I'm proud to stand here with so many courageous leaders and die-hard Teamsters who are fighting for this bill to become law. The Faster Labor Contracts Act is proof that it's still possible for Republicans and Democrats to work together to improve lives of American workers. The 1.3 million members of the Teamsters Union are calling on Republican leadership in Congress to bring this bill forward and pass it. If Republicans want to be the party of working families, they can't just talk the talk. They need to walk the walk. And this is also an opportunity for Democrats who have misled us in the past to stand up, fix their wrongs, and do what's right for the people that allow them the opportunity and priority to serve them every day in the communities. And leadership is key in this fight on both sides. Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader John Thune, Chairman Bill Cassidy, time to listen to working people. Listen to your Republican caucus and take this bill seriously. We have the votes to pass the Faster Labor Contract Act on the House floor and to pass it in the Help Committee. The power is in your hands to deliver American workers this win. American workers deserve it. They need real protections on the job. The Teamsters will be watching very closely how you choose to use your power and influence to improve our members, your constituents' lives. As I've said time and time again, the Teamsters Union is not beholden to any political party, but we are prepared to work and support anyone from any party who is ready and willing to put the American worker first. Do the right thing on behalf of all Americans and on behalf of every single Teamster and every single person that wants to join a union. Pass the Fast Labor Contracts Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President O'Brien. As I get ready to introduce our next speaker, I remind myself of how important, after a long career, your pensions are. And our next speaker was instrumental in helping get the Butch-Lewis Act passed. We would not have passed that if it wasn't for the help of the Teamsters and our friend, the International President from the Iron Workers, Eric Dean.
You get the luxury of going forth. Everything's already been said, so thank you for coming. The opportunity to work with the Labor Caucus, with the Building Trade Caucus, when it's bipartisan, the Iron Workers are showing up. It's then when legislators put the issue for working men and women together. The iron workers build construction sites that you're probably used to seeing, bridges, buildings, but we also do fabrication of steel inside plants. And every time we go to the NLRB, they lawyer up with a non-union, union-busting attorney, and here we go, here goes the game. So we know the clock is ticking, and all they try and do is stall brave working men and women out of the ability that they voted for a contract, they stuck their necks out, and then they get it stuck to them by their own government that can't respond and adjudicate things in a timely manner. So common sense legislation working on both sides of the aisle and in both houses is something we get excited about. You guys got your legislative lobby day this week. The building trades is in in April of every year. But we're on the Hill whenever it takes, and you got to make sure that you know that every member know that's not part of the caucus, that you vote, and it's your members vote, and you're going to be watching how they vote. So I can't thank these two gentlemen enough. We're looking forward to building the Blatnick Bridge in the near future in Minnesota and the opportunities that happen. We're not going to organize a bridge builder. They're with us. But these little small contractors where workers aren't getting a fair shot, that's what this bill's going to take care of. And it's going to allow our union and every union in the building trades and across organized labor to get to an expedited manner to give workers the dignity that they deserve. So with that, thank you for your common sense legislation. What a welcome thought process that people can work together. I always go to Congress and I ask them, are you guys married? Because compromise is something that we do every day, and it doesn't seem like we know how to compromise or work on things. But there are people that have our best interests. These are two of the greatest examples. Sean mentioned the folks on the Senate side. So I just ask you, go to the Hill, kick ass, and remind them what working men and women stand for, and then we're going to be paying attention to how they vote. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So now you're going to hear a real-world story of two employers that have one thing in common. They're not negotiating in good faith for a first contract. First, we're going to hear from Sarah Johnson, a nurse who works for Corewell Health East in a hospital setting, along with Jason Fratangelo, who is also a nurse for 15 years, and their experience at the hospital. If you two would come up.
I'm one of the nurses who stood up to the largest healthcare system in Michigan and won a historic union election with the Teamsters. We were overworked, understaffed, and pushed to our breaking point, all because of a hospital merger that put profits over people and cutting budget after budget, while patients and nurses were the ones that paid the price. We were sick and tired of watching our patients suffer because we did not have the support to give the quality care that they so much deserved. So we formed a union to protect our profession, to protect our patients, to bring balance to a system that's lost its way. And because of the millions of dollars that Corewell spent on union busting, it was one of the hardest fights of our lives. We went up against aggressive union consultants hired by Corewell to do anti-union campaigns. We endured all kinds of threats, misinformation, intimidation, you name it. It took real courage, unity, and sacrifice to win our union in November 2024. And the thing is, we're still fighting for a voice at the bargaining table. We still don't have a contract, almost a year later. This is why we need this Faster Labor Contracts Act. So we officially began negotiations in June of this year, and we've only met 6 times. They're dragging their feet. Corewell has rejected so many of our bargaining dates to the point that we don't even have one meeting with them next month in October. They continue to try to wear us down and undermine us. Delays are union busting. The Faster Labor Contracts Act would finally put an end to this cruel tactic designed to weaken new unions like ours before we even reach a first contract. Because right now, there are no rules to make them come to the table with any urgency. There's no consequences, there's no deadlines, and it shows, with the majority of first contracts taking well over a year to ratify. Without a contract, we can't fix what's broken, and every day we go without one, we are bleeding staff from burnout. When we can't retain or recruit nurses, the patient ratios skyrocket. When the ratios rise, patients' lives are at risk. This bill forces the process to actually move. Bargaining agreements will be reached in 130 days or less, ensuring that winning a union actually leads to a contract. If you stand with working people, you will pass the Faster Labor Contracts Act to enforce timelines, stop the games, and get workers like us a contract like we've already earned. We did our part, we organized, we won, and we showed up. Now Congress needs to do its part and pass the bill.
Hear, hear.
Good afternoon. First, I want to say what an honor and privilege it is to be able to be invited to speak here today. My name is Jason Fratangelo. I'm proud to be one of the 10,000 nurses who voted for Teamsters representation at Corewell Health East. My story is a little bit different than the average nurse. I became a nurse. I worked as an auto worker for Ford Motor Company UAW for 15 years prior to becoming a nurse. When the auto companies were in trouble, and I'm sure many of us know that recession time from about 06 to 09, they ended up offering an educational buyout, a 4-year educational buyout. That buyout wasn't a gift. Ford didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart. That was a hard-fought protection won by the UAW through the strength of a labor contract. So that story being put out there is a prime example of why we need to have a strong labor contract and a faster way to get there. That contract changed my life. It made it to where I wasn't just another displaced auto worker with an uncertain future. I was able to go back to school, pursue nursing, and build a new career helping others. This is why, thank you. And this is why that faster labor contract legislation is so important. The fact that it already has bipartisan support is encouraging, because the future of America's working class should never be a partisan issue. I'm also confident the timelines and parameters in this legislation will prevent employers from dragging their feet at the bargaining table, which Sarah pointed out is what myself and our fellow nurses are dealing with Corewell right now. In closing, I urge lawmakers to move this legislation across the finish line. A faster labor contract means a stronger working class, and a stronger working class is the backbone of this nation. It's time to reclaim our strength and rebuild the America we all believe in. Thank you for your time.
Our last speaker, you heard about the truck drivers from Florida and Breakthrough Beverage in Tampa and the history of, unfortunately, what is going on there. Please welcome Selena, there it is. Come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yunio Sansalina. I'm a driver for Breakthrough Beverage of Florida, Tampa. I have been with the company 10 years. 159 Breakthrough workers throughout Florida, and I went on strike on May 30th, and we're still on the picket line. We bargained with Breakthrough Beverage for 7 months before we went on strike. Right off the bat, they delayed meetings. Then, during negotiations, they took forever and dragged their feet. I felt like they had a plan along to stall us. They keep making excuses like they didn't know how much the drivers were making or how many hours drivers worked, which is ridiculous. What kind of company doesn't track this? This is a multi-billion-dollar company. This is how they treat the people who make them profitable. Breakthrough Beverage never came to the table in good faith, and it was clear they were trying to delay things. Right before we organized, management repeatedly said that we were family and they care about us. But right after that, we won the election, and they flipped. They started firing people for things they never fired anyone for. They gave up final write-ups for petty stuff. It was pure retaliation, obviously. Even after all that, us drivers stood together, and we said we weren't going to take it anymore. We're still out there fighting for our rights, for our voices, because we're Teamsters. And when Teamsters fight, Teamsters win. We deserve better health insurance and better retirement. We don't just want to get by. We want to live with peace of mind. The Fast Labor Contracts Act will make it so companies can drag their feet during contract negotiations like Breakthrough has been doing. It will force them to come back to the table, hammer out a deal, or face stiff penalties. That's something we, as Teamsters, we deserve. We work hard, we're truck drivers, we move America, and I'm calling out every lawmaker to support this bill. Thank you.
I want to first start by thanking our two international presidents, Eric Dean, and our friends, all our friends from the Teamsters. And we have stopping by here today Steve Lynch, who is an iron worker, who is now, Steve, he's floating around here. We have Josh Riley, Rob Brendenshaw, and Riley Moore, who all are part of signing on to this bill already. So listen, folks, this is the vision. This is not going to be an easy win. We have to fight every step of the way. But with good bipartisan, bicameral support, we're going to do it together for the American people, for all those folks who have a voice in the workplace. Let's go get them.